Welcome to Still Serving, the VFW podcast, the official podcast of the veterans of foreign wars. And now, here's your host, Rob Couture.
Okay, we're good.
Good morning, everyone. How's everyone today? Good? Thank you for joining us for this very important discussion about predatory claims practices, or as we like to call in the Washington, D.C. office, claim
cover the belly, dude.
It's important because these organizations that are out there are preying on veterans, and we need to have this discussion frequently, as much as we possibly can, not only here at National Convention, but also at posts, districts, departments, other conferences that we have going on. We need to keep this discussion going so that way we can better inform veteran population. Joining us here on the stage, as you may know, John Muckelbauer, Adjutant, and Paul Sullivan from Bergmann Moore, who are going to discuss this. So I'm going to let them take the mic and take it away.
Thanks very much, Rob. Thank you all. And look, it's great to be here at convention. It's great, more than that, to be able to run into people and certainly run into old friends. And I really appreciate my very good friend Paul Sullivan from coming out from D.C. to spend some time with us and talk about this, among other issues. We were just catching up beforehand. Paul and I go back to our unified front that we showed at for the Gulf War illness issues back in the late 90s. And Paul has been a steadfast friend since then, staunch veterans advocate, and just a great ally, in addition to a life member and fellow Desert Storm veteran, Cav Scout, my good buddy. So thanks for being here, Paul. I really appreciate it. So when we want to have this exchange on the information, share some information on a term that we have called, a group that we've called claim sharks. And that's a term that we kind of came up with because it sort of collectively distinguishes those folks. And then we talk about accredited versus unaccredited. So, Paul, let's just jump right into it and tell everybody, what do we mean by accredited representatives?
Well, first, John, thank you. As a VFW Life member, I'm really glad to be here. 32 years as a Life member. I'm getting old. So very glad to be here at the VFW Convention in Phoenix. So the first thing that folks want to know on the issue of claim sharks is what is accredited and what is not accredited. Accredited means that the person has gone through the VA application process and been approved by VA's Office of the General Counsel to assist veterans with filing claims. There are essentially three types. The first is a claim agent. That's a person who works by themselves, and they're approved by VA. The next is an attorney, and they, again, are accredited by VA. And then the third is a veteran service organization and all of their accredited service officers. So they are tested, they have background checks, and VA knows who these people are before they assist a veteran with a claim.
Right, and the VFW, of course, works with VA, and we have accredited some 2,000 accredited VFW service officers around the country who are fully trained, fully equipped to assist with these claims. So certainly, and obviously, in great firms like Bergmann Moore are there
Bergmann
too.
Moore is accredited with VA.
Yep.
And we make sure that we have our staff go through a lot of vigorous training. Plus, there's access to VA records. An accredited organization like VFW has permission through a power of attorney form to be able to access a veteran's record. And that's why the VSO can be so much more effective. They know in real time what's going on with that veteran's claim.
Absolutely, and it's the accreditation process and maintaining that, staying in tune with all the regulatory changes that occur, statutory changes that occur, keeping abreast of all of those things is just absolutely essential that for any accredited service officer, service organizations in particular. So that's kind of the landscape of the accredited organizations out there, the accredited individuals out there. What's unaccredited? Tell us what we mean, but when we say unaccredited.
Unaccredited means this. If a person is not accredited by VA and they are helping a veteran in any way develop, prosecute, or file a claim, that's a crime. Furthermore, if someone is not accredited as a person or an organization to file a claim with VA, they can't charge fees. So if someone is not accredited with the VA and they are charging the veteran a fee to file a claim, they are committing a crime. That's what unaccredited means.
Absolutely. So it's in direct conflict with the law that's out there to represent or to assist in the preparation or prosecution of a claim if you are not accredited.
That's right. And I want to be very clear on this. The people who are unaccredited claim sharks have the choice to become accredited, and they don't. So they have made a conscious decision as claim sharks to not follow VA's rules, and VA's rules are set up to protect veterans from predatory practices.
Okay, so these companies are out there, these unaccredited companies, they're out there, they're circling. How do veterans and their family members get exposed to them?
Oh, it's rather insidious. What's happening is these claim sharks are spending millions of dollars on social media advertising. So if you're a veteran and you ever click on the word veteran or use the word veteran in your Facebook, Instagram, and all those things my daughters do, right?
Yeah.
I don't do those things except LinkedIn. Anyway, so if a veteran is going through social media and they search for the word veteran, suddenly their feed of items that they're scrolling through will contain dozens and dozens of these claim shark companies that are not accredited. And what happens is it makes it very easy for the veteran to become a crime victim, because what happens is they just click on that link on their phone. And that link will say, you want to win your VA claim? You want to get more money? We can win more faster for you, guaranteed. And other misleading comments like that. So the veteran is sucked in on these misleading social media ads.
Yeah, absolutely. And I understand that they invest a great deal in analytics and anytime you do a browser search for any veterans assistance, their names are popping up on your browser first and foremost. And maybe not so much in your social media with your MySpace account, but maybe some other accounts that are out there that okay.
Right. These claim sharks have thoroughly infiltrated social media. They really have. You can't scroll through your feed without seeing them. And they'll even show up in your email. I got some that says, you've won your claim.
So let's talk about that. So the information that they're putting out there, talk to us about the accuracy of that information that they're sending out and that they're using in their marketing outreach.
Well, the nicest way to say it is that the information the claim sharks put out is misleading. First, these claim sharks will say that they are faster. They're not. VA rules are first in, first out for claims, with one important exception. A VSO, an accredited person, knows that should someone be seriously ill, in financial trouble, or aged, there's a way called advance on the docket that a VSO or accredited agent or attorney can expedite a claim. Claim sharks can't do that because they're not accredited and they're not trained.
Right.
So when a claim shark says that they are faster, that's misleading. And they get away with this because literally they appear faster, because when the veteran clicks on that little link on their Facebook feed, They're on the phone with someone right away at a call center in the Philippines or Puerto Rico or somewhere else that's open 24/7. So it's the illusion of being faster when they're not.
So best case scenario, what they're doing is opening the door to the same process at VA that everybody has to follow with respect to getting or submitting a claim for service connection.
You're absolutely right, and here's where it's even more misleading. Claim sharks will say, we give you choice. We give you well-rounded assistance. Absolutely not true. The only thing the claim sharks do are claims. The claim sharks don't help a veteran in ways that VSOs do, like healthcare enrollment, education benefits, home loan guarantee. Do the claim sharks know about 988 and how to prevent veteran suicide? How to refer a veteran to a vet center? No, the claim sharks don't do any of these.
And we're going to talk about sort of the scope and the history of the problem in a little bit. I wanted to first just drill down, since we're talking about their marketing efforts, discuss and the information that VFW has received, information that they've presented to Congress. We received it through their FOIA, through our request under the Freedom of Information Act. We wanted to see how long VA has been wrestling with the problem and what these companies have said. And it was apparent to us that they say one thing to Congress and one thing to the VA, but something totally different with respect to how they pitch their services to the public. To VA and Congress, they say, oh, we simply direct veterans to resources so they can complete the process on their own. So what do they actually tell the public in their ads?
Oh, it's complete bait and switch. It's almost like a get out of jail free card. What the claim sharks do on one page of their website is the claim shark will say, we assist you with your claim. But then at the very end, they want this monopoly get out of jail free card by having fine print that says, we're not accredited, we're not actually helping you with your claim, you're going to file it yourself. Well, that kind of disclaimer is absolutely worthless, because in reality, John, what the claim sharks are doing is they're assisting veterans with developing, filing, and prosecuting a claim.
Yeah.
And if they're not accredited, it's a crime.
So when you tell one group of people that you do a certain thing, you tell another group that you do something totally different, you're sort of speaking out of both sides of your mouth. Is that what you said?
That's exactly what I said.
So they're providing information that you would call inaccurate. There's also a word, I think, for that.
Deception?
But, yeah, there's somebody should invent a word for what they're doing. But,
criminal activity?
Yeah, something like that. But
scam? Yes, I think yes. All those are right words. Yes.
So these companies, they're out there. They tell the VA they're only directing veterans to resources. Their ads say that they are. I mean, you can look on their websites that they're experts. That they help veterans every step of the way. That they provide comprehensive assistance. That they're pros. I think one used to go by the name pros. That they develop and document evidence with respect to claims, and that is a far cry usually from what they've historically said officially to Congress and to the VA, who are been trying to get their arms around this problem.
Well, this is why I'm really glad to be a VFW member, and I'm really, really impressed with the work of the Washington, D.C. office of VFW and Ryan Gallucci and the staff there. What the National Veterans Service staff did for VFW in Washington was compare one claim shark and their purported success helping veterans with the reality of what the Veterans of Foreign Wars does for veterans. And I want to be very clear. No one does more for veterans than VFW. And on these claims, VFW was returning 2, 3, 4 times higher service-connected ratings on VBA disability compensation claims for veterans. The evidence is rock solid. Claim sharks do not add value to a veteran's claim. A trained VFW service officer adds tremendous value not only to the claim, but for the veteran as a person. Holistic VHA, NCA, all the other things that the federal government, state, and local agencies do to help veterans when we leave the military.
So these less trained, unaccredited individuals, these companies that are out there, they're still charging fees.
Yes.
What can a typical veteran expect to pay for using these untrained, unaccredited services?
All right, everybody, hold on to your VFW covers. The average amount stolen from veterans, remember, representation without accreditation is a crime. The average is $5,000 per veteran. In some cases, some claim sharks will openly advertise on their website that they'll charge up to $10,000. Now, are you ready for the math? One claim shark company in their Securities and Exchange Commission filing to become a public company reported that they had assisted, and I will say the word victimized, 250,000 veterans. When you add in the other claim sharks who publicly report on their websites that they have assisted 40 or 50,000 veterans or victimized them, that's 300,000 veterans victimized by claim sharks that we know of. Now let's do the math. $5,000 per victim times 300,000 victims is more than $1 billion. This is the total amount of the scope of how serious this problem is. And it's growing very, very quickly.
Absolutely, it is. We're going to get to that a little bit, but just bringing it back down, if a veteran understands the fact that there might be a cost to this, what's the harm? What do we tell the veteran? What's the harm in saying that they should pursue this route with an untrained, unaccredited company to file their claim?
Well, first, it's a crime. You're a crime victim. Second, you're paying for something that VFW does better for free. Next up, these contracts that veterans sign have what are called elastic clauses. And you know, you heard the term, once a criminal gets their claws into you. Essentially, these contracts between a veteran and a claim shark go on in perpetuity. So 2 or 3 years later, should a veteran on their own file for an increase in a claim, guess what? That claim shark is going to be able to turn around and demand more money from that veteran several years later. The veteran can't get out, in many cases, from the clutches of these criminal claim sharks.
That's an excellent point. I want to touch on, too, you touched on it earlier with respect to the assistance that the accredited service officers provide. In addition to it being a free service, what other benefits are there for those veterans and their family members who seek care through a VFW service officer or the VSO community in general?
It's literally night and day. The difference between a claim shark who is focused on making money as fast as they can on a claim and an accredited, approved VFW service officer or an accredited county service officer or an accredited service officer with some other VSO. Here's the list. If a veteran is sitting with an accredited service officer and they win their claim, the accredited service officer is going to whip out VA Form 1010EZ. Claim sharks don't know what that is. That's a healthcare enrollment. Let's say the veteran is sitting down with the accredited service officer and the veteran starts to share that maybe they're having trouble sleeping or there's some other mental health issue going on. The trained and accredited service officer is going to know about 988 to refer the veteran to the Veteran Crisis Line or a vet center or the VA medical facility. Veterans lose a lot. They lose education about federal and state benefits, home loan guarantee, education benefits. And then when it comes just to a claim, John, veterans will lose out on items like special monthly compensation that may significantly increase a veteran's award.
Yeah.
They may lose out on total disability based on unemployability or TDIU, which could also significantly increase a veteran's payment. So it's a lot of it is harm to the veteran because it's a crime and they're paying, but the veterans also lose so much by going with the shark rather than with an accredited service officer.
Right. So it's accessing that continuum of care, getting them dialed into VA healthcare, getting them an understanding of the education benefits, whether it's Chapter 35 or whatever other education benefits that the veteran is now possibly entitled to based on their rating, and an understanding of not just those benefits that are out there, but the ability to get them enrolled in it and take advantage of it as well. So those are key aspects.
John, you're right. During a congressional hearing about a year or more ago, where Ryan Gallucci from the VFW testified, there were claim sharks in this hearing. And I believe the question was along the lines of, why don't you, Mr. Claim Shark, do some of the things that the VSOs do? And the response was, I don't have the quote in front of me, was along the lines of, oh, if we did what the VSOs do, we'd be out of business. It's too expensive. That, my friends, was the smoking gun admission that the reason claim sharks do what they do and they don't want to become accredited is because they are interested only in money and not in our veterans.
Absolutely. So we touched on it a little bit before. So let's talk about how big of a problem it is and sort of the growth that we've seen over the past several years. How many companies are we talking about out there?
John, this is really scary. About 10 years ago, there were one or two mom and pop claim sharks basically working out of a garage. About 4 or 5 years ago, there were about 20 or 30 of them. Then COVID hit. Then many of our VFW posts weren't around. They were temporarily closed. County offices, state offices were also closed. And into that gap during COVID, the claim sharks dramatically increased their advertising, and then they grew in numbers. I have identified more than 70 active claim shark companies. It was 40 just 2 or 3 years ago. It was a handful 10 years ago. And I want to let you know, just to scare you, literally, this is important, many of these claim sharks have subsidiaries that change their names. And they're growing like, what is it, the Hydra head or the Medusa snake head? It's really getting out of control because these companies, they see no downside.
Right, absolutely. Then how many veterans do you think are potentially victimized by these companies that are out there?
At a minimum, I would probably say that it would be fair to say 100,000 and north per year. And that's based on one claim shark publicly stating that they have already victimized 250,000 veterans. They said that publicly in their congressional testimony.
So since it's going to segue here, it is a violation of the law for these companies to assist with the prosecution of claims. They're out there, they're not accredited, they're doing it anyway. How can they be stopped? Let's talk a little bit about sort of the efforts to get our arms around the problem and put an end to it. What's Congress doing?
Well, Congress right now has 2 bills. For simplicity, we'll call this the Good Bill, the GUARD Act. And then we'll call the other one the Plus Bill. What's the name for that, John?
So I have come up with the acronym, Please Let Us Steal.
More.
So if there's ever any distinction between the two, the GUARD VA Act seems to be a positive step in the right direction. The Plus Act, think of it as Please Let Us Steal. It is please let us steal more. It is exactly about legalizing that which is currently illegal. It's plainly a violation of the law. That bill simply says everything that they're doing is an exception. It's absolutely almost unbelievable that representatives would submit something like that, but it was done anyway. But make no mistake, that's exactly what it does. It legalizes something that has been contrary to not just law but public policy for years.
70 years.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, let me put this in plain terms for Congress right now. There are three things Congress could do. First, Congress could do the good thing and enact the guard bill that would restore penalties and give VA and the government some teeth to crack down on these criminal enterprises. That's the best option. The next option is kind of like do nothing. And in that sense right now, because there are no criminal penalties for claim sharks, the claim sharks are still going to run amok. So that's kind of like the middle ground. The third would be the plus bill, the please let us steal more from veterans. That bill would legalize the claim sharks, give automatic accreditation to them, and you think it's crazy now with hundreds of thousands of veterans victimized for hundreds of millions of dollars a year? We're talking the Wild West on steroids. Okay, it's gonna be bad. I thought this would be bad 3 or 4 years ago, and it is beyond my worst projection of how the claim sharks have taken over. So, just as a personal thought, let's get involved with the guard bill and make sure the other two don't happen.
Right. Absolutely. So let's talk about how the VFW is stepping onto the battlefield here. We're at our national convention. I think we passed, the delegates passed resolution 619 to address this issue. From your perspective, Paul, as a life member and just being in D.C., what's VFW's role in this, along with other VSOs?
Well, the good news is that VFW, is it 2 years ago now, had a very lengthy article in the VFW magazine about claim sharks. And that's why VFW takes credit, seriously, for leading on this issue, calling these criminals, the unaccredited, claim sharks. The VSOs have circled together to try to make sure that veterans are protected. Yes, there are predators out there who want to steal our benefits under the guise of supposedly helping us. But you asked a second ago, what are some of the other things that could be done by veterans? You want me to answer?
Well, I guess to wrap up, let's talk a little bit about sort of the do's and don'ts, and then we can kind of conclude everything here. Let's start first, Tommy. We touched on them all, but the don'ts. What should veterans and their family members not do with respect to their claims?
Well, thank you, VA Secretary Dennis McDonough yesterday, who made it very clear. Do not pay anyone to file an initial VA claim. Make sure we say that again. Don't pay anyone to file for an initial claim. The next is, even if you've already signed a contract, you don't have to pay it because it's unenforceable. A contract where the underlying act is illegal is not enforceable. So veterans shouldn't be paying these contracts.
Before we get into it, though, understand that if a company puts a contract in front of you, understand that that's probably a claim shark. That might be a clue. These contracts have fees associated with them, obviously, but they also have these robust arbitration clauses that make it extremely difficult and cumbersome for the average person to understand. They will get threats that they're going to send them to collections to pursue. I certainly understand and sympathize with the fact that a big part of the business model is to collect the money that these companies have built veterans out of. So first step, though, don't sign the contracts.
Yeah, let's make this simple, John. You're exactly right. If a veteran is dealing with a person and they're either on the internet, chat, or face-to-face, you might be given one of two pieces of paper. If it's a power of attorney that says a veterans group that is accredited and their accreditation number goes on the form, if that person is asking you to sign a form showing they're accredited, you're with a good guy. If they're asking you to sign a contract and there is no accreditation on it, and it's not a VA form, red flag, run.
Right.
If they're not accredited, don't sign.
And the VA form that's out there is Form 2122. It's a form that somebody can sign, and that same person can withdraw. As soon as they withdraw it, that's it. It's the end of the relationship. There's no fees attached. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. And then what about passwords? What's the problem that you've seen with veterans and their family members giving out their access to the VA information and passwords on the different VA accounts?
Here's how insidious and how ruthless and how devious some of the claim sharks have become. When the claim shark is speaking with the veteran or chatting with them, the claim shark will ask for a veteran's password to VA system called My Health eBet or eBenefits. Huge red flag. If someone is asking you for your passwords, don't share it. Why? An accredited organization like VFW already has access to your records. So these claim sharks are asking veterans for their passwords, and then these claim sharks are improperly accessing veterans' health care and disability records. How bad is it, John?
How bad is it, Paul?
VA, well-intended, is now placing VA rating decisions in the veterans' e-benefits folder. These claim sharks now, according to the veterans that I've spoken with, are going in to the veterans' e-benefits with the veteran's password and downloading the veteran's rating decision a day or two after VA has put it in the veteran's e-benefits folder. Here's what happens. This is going to shock you. In many cases, the claim shark knows before the veteran that the veteran has prevailed on their claim. And as soon as the claim shark learns that the veteran has prevailed on their claim, then the claim shark sends the collectors after the veteran to demand that $5,000 or $10,000 payment.
So to bring it home then, what should veterans and their family members do? What's the upside? Where do we need to send people?
Veterans, please go to VFW to file your initial claim, for your PACT Act claim, for your appeal. And if you want to use another VSO, that's fine. If you need to use an accredited agent or a law firm for an appeal, that's fine. The first thing to keep in mind is make sure they're accredited and approved by VA, because they're going to be trained, they're going to have oversight by VA, and if they do something wrong, they can be stopped by VA from helping veterans. That's the oversight. So that's the do, go get help.
Excellent, Paul. Well, I really appreciate you being here and talking about this critical issue for our veterans, for their family members. Any thoughts you want to leave with us with respect to you being here today?
I'm really pleased, John, to see VFW National Executive Director Ryan Bellucci speak before the floor of the VFW and say to everyone, be aware of the claim sharks. Do not pay to file an initial claim. I was very pleased to see the Secretary with my own eyes, Dennis McDonough, right here at the VFW Convention, make it very clear. Do not pay anyone to file an initial claim. Go to VFW or another accredited organization. You will get more. And then here's the last part that's most important. With VFW, you get a post. You're going to meet some other people. You're going to be tied into your community. It's about you as a veteran coming home. And there's someone there to work with you to readjust. The last thing we want is our veterans to fall prey to crooks who see dollar signs and put a target on the backs of our veterans. We have to stop it. We have to do more, and I think VA and VFW are coming together to make sure that we can stop this attack on our veterans.
Absolutely, Paul. Well, look, I thank you again for joining us here for our 124th National Convention. Thank you for joining us on our VFW Still Serving stage. And we just appreciate all of the great work that you and Bergmann Moore are doing for us. We look forward to continuing the fight with you on this critical issue. So thank you, my friend, and safe travels to you. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Still Serving, the VFW podcast. To learn more about the veterans of foreign wars, please visit our website at vfw.org and follow us on Facebook at VFW Fans and on Twitter at VFWHQ.